All right, we're going to take a look at LOD, or level of detail. Now, level of detail is so incredibly important for your game's performance, and we're going to look at the reason for that. Now, it's especially important for foliage and such, but it could be like, here's a good example for some buildings. Now, if we look at these buildings right now, we have about 1,000 of them, and you can see for the triangle draw right here, you can see it's 700,000 triangles. And if you didn't have the LOD set, it could be up to 7 million. We're going to take a look. We're actually going to set it a different way. So right now, we have it set pretty aggressive. And let's take a look at this. So basically what this is going to show us is, if we go to the mesh LOD, the colors represent the quality of the LOD. So this is highest quality, this is 0, and this is 1 is the red. So it's scaled down a little bit. And so let's say this building right here would be the full quality, which let's say it was 1,000 triangles. And then so the red one might be 500 triangles. It cuts it down, scales it down. And then the green ones might be 200, and then the blue ones might be 50 triangles. But since we're so far away, you really can't see the detail of it, so it just scales it down. And so you can see about 600. So let's do this. Let's go ahead, and we're going to go and take a look at the actual static mesh on here. And let me see if I can get this in this one window here so we can see the whole thing. Okay, here's the actual building, and as you can see here, if on the LOD is set to auto, and as we move in and out, if you look in the top left, you'll see LOD 0, and here's the screen size. So as the screen size changes, as it hits certain thresholds, it'll change the LOD. So you'll watch as a screenshot. As we get further back, the LOD will change. See what? Okay, so see how it just changed to 1, and then 2, and then 3. So it's pretty aggressive how fast it's changing. And as you can see, as it's changing, you can see the triangle counts changing. So it's resizing it down. So now up close, we're looking at 688 triangles. And as we get back pretty quickly, it calls it down to 86 triangles. So, which doesn't sound like a lot for one building, but if you start timesing that, like I said, by 1,000 or 10,000, then it's going to make a huge difference, and which we're about to see. So this LOD was actually a custom LOD I set up by myself in here. I know Unreal Engine does have a tool you can purchase, a plugin. I think it's like $10 you can purchase, and it kind of sets it up where it'll automatically set these for you. So you can set up custom ones with screen size. So right now, just as an example, let's change this to large prop. And so now this is going to set up Unreal's default, what they have set up for a large prop. Now, if you don't like it, what you have to do, unless you buy the plugin, which I haven't bought yet, but I'm definitely thinking about it, because every time you have a mesh, if you don't like how the LOD is set up, then you'll have to go in here and go to each one, like LOD 1, and then you'll see screen size is 0.015, and it's 50, it's 50% of the triangle, so it's going to be half the size. But watch what happens. You'll see in here. So it's at, let's put it back on auto. Now, see, it's at 688 triangles, so that's high res. So as you get back, you'd think about right here, you can't really see it, the details, so you think it would bump over to LOD 1, but it doesn't. Look how far back you have to go. Right, so and it still hasn't. So you'd have to go a long ways back. So the default LODs are not very aggressive, and what happens is every time you have a building or anything that you want to put into the scene, then you have to go in there and modify every LOD. Like you go to 1, and then you'll have to set it to the auto compute LOD. You have to turn that off. And then you have to come up here to the screen size and then set that to the screen size you want. So you'd have to get whatever screen size you think. You'd have to kind of go through here and see where it looks the best. And say 0.25. So you'd put 0.25, and then you put how many triangles you want. And then you would go to LOD 2, and then you'd get further back and kind of see what it looks like. And then set the screen size. So it's a real manual process, a lot of work involved to get it right. But I'll show you. We're going to look at it right now and see why you almost have to do that in some cases, especially for foliage. So let's go ahead and put this back on. Let's put it on small prop, and just to reset everything. So now we reset everything back to Unreal's grouping, and let's see how aggressive they are. Now let's go back over here. Let's make sure that's saved, and then we'll go back over here. Let's save that. So it's on. So let's put this back on auto. Okay. So now, now we're going to go back to the same scene, and now look, we're almost up to 3 million triangles. So we went from 700,000 to 3 million. That's an incredible amount. And if we go back to here and go back to the level of detail, you can see clearly that even though they're way back here, these buildings that you can't even see, it's still drawing the complete details. Now, and take in consideration these buildings are very low poly. Just think if you had some high poly, like this was what, 688 or something. Let's look. 688 triangles. Just think of it as 20,000 triangles. So then if you do 20,000 times 1,000, you can imagine this triangle draw from 2 million, it'd be up to 20 million. Your frame rate would be terrible. And that's because the LOD screen size isn't aggressive enough. So if you're working in Unreal Engine, definitely one of the biggest performance hits I think that you need to look at would be the LODs and how aggressive they are. If you just choose the default one and go with it, because I have done this on some foliage, which I wish I hadn't. If you just choose the default that it has here, you know, like small prop or large prop or level architecture, they're all about the same if you look at them. They're not aggressive enough, and what's going to happen is, just like here, you're going to be, instead of 700,000, you're going to be looking at, 2 million. And these are real low poly, like I said. If they were high poly, I mean, this would be probably unplayable. It'd be like 25 million triangles. So there it is. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear about them. If you work on Unreal Engine and are trying to get the best performance, LOD is one of the keys to performance. All right, thanks for listening. And if you have any comments or anything, leave them below. I'd love to hear from you.